What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the Xbox Series X versus the PlayStation 5, because it's now been about a week since both these consoles came out, and to be perfectly honest, I just can't stop playing them. These are both some incredibly good machines, and this isn't going to be some stupid fanboy video where I act like the Xbox is on fire and overheating, or telling you that the PlayStation 5 keeps crashing and exploding. Instead, I want to try and do an unbiased look at both, seeing their strengths and their weaknesses, because just to be frank, I think that both of these are incredibly good machines. Even if you could only get one, you're still completely winning. My direct impressions of this, though, is that we do have a slight winner as of now. But let's start off by taking a look at the Xbox Series X. Now, I have done reviews of both these consoles, but that was kind of my initial impressions. Now that I've logged in a lot of hours and seen the good and the bad, I guess I'm more confused and conflicted by the Xbox. Now, let's be clear about something. The big advantage of the Series X is definitely the graphical and processing power. Like, I know the PlayStation 5 is able to do some pretty good stuff, but when I see things like the Xbox exclusives, when I see the waves in Sea of Thieves, and go online in different games and actually experience things like quick resume, the fact that the solid state drive is apparently so efficient inside my Xbox that I can switch from game to game so instantaneously is definitely a real technical marvel, and it gets me excited for the next generation. As I play my Xbox, I guess what really kind of impresses me the most about it, and the reason I feel like I'm never going to unhook this thing, is because I like the fact that it seems like Microsoft realizes that gamers are a long generation. Like, every time gamers come up, we want to play games from the past. We want to play the bright, shiny new stuff. The fact that right now I can pull one of the games off my freaking wall here. Last night, just for funsies, I pulled off Splinter Cell Chaos Theory for the original Xbox, and I threw it in my machine. It instantaneously upscales it. It makes it so crisp and so clear, and it's just so easy to do. The Xbox Series X is more of trying to emphasize the idea of lifelong gamers being rewarded. The more stuff you've played, the more stuff you love, the more you can find to love inside the system itself. But I think one of my major issues, it comes down to two things. The Xbox is good. I definitely enjoy the Series X, but I really don't like the fact that it just feels like another upgraded version of the Xbox One. Like, in fact, even the dashboard is just the Xbox One dashboard. So the fact that I'm just kind of getting like, it feels like I'm getting a new like graphics card and a solid state drive installed into an already existing console. It doesn't feel like something that's bright and flashy and new. And again, I guess this is something that's kind of a giant drawback. I don't really know what the heck I'm supposed to play on my Series X. Like, right now, I am playing some incredibly upgraded experiences, like, games that I was loving on my Xbox One, but I don't have a single Series X game exclusive yet. I'm excited for the Medium, which is coming out here in a couple weeks, but as of now, the fact that we don't have any concrete release dates for Halo, the fact that there's nothing about the new Fable, like last night I was actually sitting down and playing Fable 3 again, because I did kind of love Fable 3, even though it is kind of a hated game, and while I was enjoying it and kind of just marveling at all they did, I kind of just sat there going, okay, but what is coming next? How can I be excited for what's new when the old is still here and is kind of all that's relevant? The more experimenting I do on my own with the Xbox Series X, the more I realize that it's definitely just the system that's for people who only enjoy third-party experiences. If you're somebody that just plays sports games, or you just want to see like Assassin's Creed Valhalla in 4K, I definitely think that the Series X is stronger. It is going to give you a better experience if you just want to see things in the best possible fidelity. And of course, if you're a big fan of first-person shooters and you want those diagonal sticks, this is the only way you're going to get an asymmetrical controller. But let's move on to the PlayStation 5, because this is the one I feel like I'm seeing so many more people talk about, and just to be perfectly honest, I have been playing my PlayStation 5 more, mostly because it seems like everything is so prepped and ready for day one. The PlayStation 5 definitely feels, the more I play it, the more it just seems like it's trying to be an advancement of gaming technology. It wants to try and be something that's bright and new and definitely different, experiencing things like Godfall. Now, this game sucks. I did do a giant review of it and stuff. This is a PlayStation exclusive, but as I was running around in it, I could kind of appreciate the fact that graphics engines are getting better, visuals are just absolutely jaw-dropping, but you could see that the reason this game sucks is because it's not really trying to be a bright, flashy technical advancement, it's just supposed to be a game that looks pretty. Whereas if you play something like Spider-Man Miles Morales, does a lot of stuff that actually enables the haptic triggers. This is something that is just so endlessly interesting to me. The more I play with the PlayStation 5 controller called the DualSense, the more I keep finding like new secrets about it. While you're web swinging around in Miles Morales, the triggers will actually be adaptive. You can feel as you're swinging through the cities of New York, you can feel the webbing actually getting taut. You can feel it in the triggers itself. And it's almost kind of baffling because it feels almost too immersive. Like, at times I turned it off. Just to be completely clear, at times I would deactivate it and play the game with these settings and without these settings just because I'm kind of still baffled about it. But part of this also is because PlayStation 5 seems to have an extra layer of immersion. Yes, because of the controller, but also because the graphics, again, are just so sharp. They don't quite compare to the Xbox Series X. I do think that Microsoft has really managed to slightly beat them out when it comes to the graphics department, but a lot of these PS5 games are stunning to look at. What really shocked me about this, though, is that it's not just Sony games. There are some like cross-platform or indie games that look completely stunning on the PlayStation 5. Like The Pathless is completely gorgeous. The fact that there is already just an indie game that is this gorgeous, that is this visually a treat to the eyes, that is very, very interesting. But there's also a lot of like really subtle stuff that's grabbed my attention about the PlayStation 5. Like one of the things that existed with PlayStation 4, like I have the PS4 controller here, there's obviously the light bar on a PlayStation 4 controller. Like right now as I press it, you can see it's turning on. It's trying to turn itself on right now, and so it has a little flashing light. Well, I guess it would be if I actually picked up a controller that's charged, but I didn't. But here's the thing. This light bar, there were certain games that would try and do special things with it. Like if you were playing a game and it was player 1 and player 2, sometimes this bar would turn green or blue or red or something. Well, something that existed in the Resident Evil 3 remake is as you got hurt in the game, it would slowly turn more and more blood red. I thought this was an interesting mechanic. Well, with the PlayStation 5 controller, the light bar is now underneath the touchpad. So it makes it where all of this can now light up. And that sounds like a small thing, but you can now enjoy this a lot more intuitively because as you're playing the game, it's directly in front of you. Now, that's just cool, and it kind of brings me back to the fact that the PlayStation 5 feels like it's trying to push boundaries. The PlayStation 5 wants to take the game experience you already know and then make them even better. Like, even playing just some GTA last night, I got online with GTA 5, and I'm running around and testing out the online, and the load times in that game aren't super good. I definitely wish they were better, but I thought it was interesting that people started talking in my lobby. I was in a survival match. I'm running around. I'm shooting some bad guys. I'm having a great time. And suddenly a guy said, "Great work, Dreamcast Guy. I'm one of your subscribers. Let's kick some butts." And his voice was coming out of the controller. It was crystal clear. It was so freaking just cool to me that I could just speak directly back and go, "Thanks, buddy. Stop shooting me in the back of the head." And it would send that message back. There's almost like a scientific touch to a lot of the changes that have been done with the PlayStation 5, where it feels like Sony sat down and decided what is different in the way people would want. What is something we could put in the system that would make people happy with how it works? This does bring me to the biggest drawback, though, which is that I have had a lot of glitches, especially in the last 24 hours with my PlayStation 5. The predominant one that keeps happening is this thing that's called, like, what is it? The rebuilding storage crash, where if you're playing certain games like Miles Morales or sometimes Spider-Man Remastered, and you put the console in rest mode, as you boot it back up, you get this terrible screen that says, "Oh God, things are on fire, everything's breaking," or whatever, you know? It seems like the PlayStation 5 is not fully completed. It kind of at times feels like a console that's like 99% through beta testing, and maybe by the end of December and like Christmas, which is when things absolutely have to work, then things will be ironed out. Everything will be smoothed out. As it stands today, both of these systems are incredibly good. Like, if you somehow had a $500 gift card and you just were only able to purchase one of them, you could pretty much flip a coin because they're both going to be exceptionally fun experiences that really are just going to get bigger and better and crazier over the course of the next couple of years. But if we're talking about today, if we're actually having to sit down and judge which of these systems is more worth your cash as of now, I have to give it to the PlayStation 5 simply because of one word. Games, 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 games. Now, I mean this in two separate ways, the games that are coming next and the games that exist now. Like, just today, I've actually been installing so many different random indie experiences or big games or just tiny, weird, obscure stuff, and everything, like thousands, literally thousands of games work on my PlayStation 5, and if anything, they're upgraded by the experience. Like, one of my favorite indie games of all time, it's definitely one of the most unknown, weird games, I'm sure you haven't even heard of it, but it's called Neon Chrome, and it's like a roguelike where you're like a shooter robot, and every time you play the game, all the levels rearrange and you have to try and fight your way through this tower of bad guys, and you get a randomized robot with different abilities like rocket launchers or laser shotguns. And as I was playing it, it's baffling to me that this works so seamlessly, so fluidly, so perfectly on my PlayStation 5, despite the fact that this is an indie game from years and years and years ago. And I guess that's kind of the biggest thing to me, is that it's basically a PlayStation 4 on steroids with just even more the features we already loved. But more than this, it's the future. I mean, just stating facts here, there's already so many exclusives that are coming to the PlayStation 5 in 2021. And like, if I think about things like Ratchet and Clank, which looks absolutely insane, or something like, I'm a big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn, the fact that we're getting the next one of those, there is so much stuff that we already have a release window of, gameplay of. We have so much to try and get us hyped for the future. And while I enjoy playing my Xbox Series X, and while I think that this is the more impressive piece of hardware, just like in a laboratory setting, what's coming next? We don't have a release date for Halo. We don't have a release date for anything. Like, I feel weird saying this, but sitting here right now, I can't just really come up with a game that I've seen gameplay of other than Halo. Like, what is coming next or this? Another Forza? Gears 6? You know, I'm just kind of sitting in that place now where, as a consumer who owns both consoles, I have my next year already planned out for the games I'm excited for with the PlayStation 5. Whereas the Xbox Series X, it's going to be the interesting thing I chest out as a second hand. But these have just been my thoughts, and I'm sure people are going to be extremely mad in the comments down below. But let me know your thoughts. Are you wanting to suddenly want to, I don't know, burn my PlayStation 5 or something? Or do you want to hug an Xbox? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. Oh man, I'm going to read the comments section, and I'm sure it's going to be great. Thanks everybody for subscribing. By the way, I'm kind of baffled by some of the videos that have been blowing up lately. Even the Godfall review. Thank you everybody for the crazy views on the Godfall review. I can't believe we already found the worst PlayStation 5 game, but I'm glad I beat it, and now I can forget it. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, you know, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.